friend thinks you're creepy. Oh, goodness. I know everyone's gonna have different opinions about this one. Happy apple picking day! As you can see, I am not home. I'm traveling, I'm in Boston, but have no fear, we are still apple picking today. Some reminders for all of our friends. If you want to transfer your stories to be featured on Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/amithebadapple. And as a reminder, we all come from different branches of the apple tree, and what that means is that we've all lived different lives and have different experiences, and I don't agree with shaming people for just not growing up with a particular perspective or information. Like, no one wants to learn if you're just gonna make them feel bad for things that they just didn't know. But I also think there's a difference between, like, growing up without a perspective versus, like, very easily obtainable information that you can Google. There's like a fine line with this too, you know what I mean? Long story short, we are practicing constructive communication down in the comment section. So without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode of Am I the Bad Apple? Let's go apple picking! Apple number 1. Am I the bad apple for ruining my brother's first relationship? My brother's 14 and recently got his first ever girlfriend. I was so excited for him and did my best to be a supportive older sibling. About a week ago, I actually met and started talking to his girlfriend, and she's the sweetest girl, and I adore her like a sister. It's important to know that she's Latina, and one day, while we were talking, she actually told me that her grandparents are immigrants, and that she's also bisexual. I honestly don't care about either of those details. After all, I'm a very liberal person myself. However, my brother, on the other hand, is a different story. He is firmly planted on the right side of the political fence and has repeatedly told me that he'll never refer to me as his sibling because of my romantic interests, or that I'll just get over being a lesbian. He's also completely and totally against immigration and says it's his dream to work for ICE. I felt like I should probably warn his girlfriend that these were his views, so I did. She looked wildly uncomfortable after I told her and left shortly after. Come to find out, a few days ago, she broke up with my brother, and when he asked why, she said, "Your sibling told me a few eye-opening things." My brother screamed at me and told me that I was a jerk who had ruined his first relationship because I couldn't take a joke. My parents told me that I should have kept my mouth shut because it wasn't my place to share my brother's political views and that I was in the wrong. Then I found out that his ex had been a part of his friend group before they went out, and now his friend group is divided in half, and I'm wondering if maybe I did overstep my boundaries. I just need to know. Am I the bad apple? I think that there's going to be some mixes in opinions, and I think that those opinions are going to be solely based on how old the commenters are, like, genuinely. I can see a bunch of younger people saying good apple. Like, I'm actually going firmly bad apple for a lot of reasons. This kid is 14. Like you said, you're 16. Your brother's 14. Do you know the percentage of kids at 14 who, like, think they're a part of whatever political party and then just aren't by the time it's actually time to vote? Like, people at 14 usually don't actually know what politics are. Kids at 14 usually don't actually know anything about any of the views that they think that they have. Like, genuinely. All their information is either mostly going to come from their parents or from some things that they see on TikTok. I don't think anyone at 14 has enough information about anything to say they're a part of a political movement or party or whatever. And I say that as a former social studies teacher, 1000%. Saying that you have to warn people about your brother's political opinions at 14 is kind of ridiculous, in my opinion. I think that only encourages him to not grow from these ideas that he says that he has. For example, he's against immigration. Well, like, every country has some form of legal immigration. Even in this, like, you guys explaining it, I don't think you really know what you're talking about. There is always going to be some form of legal immigration. Are you referring to he's very against illegal immigration? Is that what you're saying, that he wants to be a part of ICE? Like, even in you explaining it, like, I don't think you guys really understand what these concepts entail and what is the actual reality of these concepts. You know what I'm talking about? And even if he's saying he doesn't even support legal immigration, how is shaming a 14-year-old who does not have anywhere near all the information around these topics, how is that in ostracizing him, and instead of like sitting down and talking to him about his ideas, how is just like getting his girlfriend to break up with him, getting his friends to ditch him, how is this going to make him want to learn to do differently at 14? Like, I think that there's a way to approach people with interesting opinions, and the way you approach them is really going to depend on their age and like how receptive that they are. And this is not how I recommend dealing with a 14-year-old who is uninformed about various political concepts. Also, let's be like, what do you mean you have to protect a 14-year-old? They're not getting married next year. What are you protecting her from? In fact, I genuinely believe, reading this, that even if your brother is dead serious about all these political views that he says he has, which I don't even know if he is, I know it's very common for 14-year-old boys to like just say something to get a rise out of people. And I say that as a former teacher who taught 14-year-olds. I don't think he actually has. I'm not assuming. I'm not saying that like this is the case, because I'm not putting in my own assumptions in the story. I want to make that clear. But from my experience, I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't actually believe those things. He's just trying to get a rise out of you, because that's what little brothers do. And the reason that is a thought in my head is because if he actually believed that, I would be shocked if he didn't know any of these things about his girlfriend. Like, you got these things out of one conversation. She's Latina, her grandparents are immigrants. You think he doesn't know that? And he still decided to date her and likes her, even if he had those interesting opinions. So many people with interesting opinions tend to reflect when their opinions and political realities end up clashing, and it starts affecting them. That's the perfect kind of way to get him to start seeing other perspectives. So, like, what actually was your goal here? Because it's one, it's not like he's old enough to vote and be a part of any kind of party anyways. Two, they're 14. They're not getting married in a year or 2 or 3. They're 14 years old. Like, what? I don't know what you think you're protecting her from. This is not how I would go about any of that, especially with a 14-year-old. This is why 14-year-old boys are like perfect prey for dudes like Andrew Tate. They're so impressionable. And when you take like an angry teenage boy and give him a target to place all of his anger, like, that's why we have young boys who are like listening to Andrew Tate, because they're basically giving them a why you're not a millionaire already, why you don't have ladies falling all over you. Like, it's not real. None of it's real. They're basically like using their anger and their desperation towards like wanting to fit in, wanting to feel loved, like these kinds of things, and they're using it to like fuel their own agendas. And you're giving him that anger. You're pushing him towards that avenue. Don't do that. Mind your business. If you're actually concerned about his opinions, then sit and talk to him about it. Like, or have your parents talk to him about it. But like, this was very messy. It felt more like you getting vengeance and justice for his comments towards you and your lifestyle. I'm not going to put any assumptions. I'm saying that that's what that felt like. That's how it came off to me. So, I'm going to go bad apple personally. I don't think this is how you deal with teenagers who think they have these kinds of opinions. I don't like how any of this played out. I'm going to stop rambling now. Okay. Apple number 2. Am I the bad apple for refusing to eat the dinner my wife made? Last night, my wife made spaghetti and it smelled amazing. She said she tried something new and wanted me to just eat it before asking questions. I had a few bites and it tasted kind of off, but not terrible. Just weirdly sweet and earthy. I asked what she changed and she told me she blended up leftover spaghetti from 6 days ago and mixed it into the sauce to thicken it. I immediately stopped eating. I know it's technically the same ingredients, but the idea of blended old noodles mixed into fresh sauce made me sick. She got offended and said that I already ate half a plate, so clearly it was fine and I was just being dramatic now that I knew. I told her that's exactly the point. I didn't know. If I knew beforehand, I wouldn't have eaten it. She said I was just being wasteful and disrespectful and acting like she served me garbage. I ended up making a sandwich because I couldn't finish it. She got so upset and barely talked to me the rest of the night. Now she told her family and they think I embarrassed her, but my mom agrees it's gross and that I shouldn't have been tricked into eating it. So, was I the bad apple? And I'm not going to put my assumptions on anyone, but you cannot convince me that the reason she refused to tell you beforehand is because she knew what your reaction was going to be. She knew. That's gross. I need to know, because you said spaghetti. Is this like she blended the old noodles or she blended the old sauce? I need to know. There is a difference. One is worse than the other. If it's like both, that still goes on the worse. It's still bad. I know noodles saved differently, but 6 days after being cooked, well, you said it was sweet and earthy. Was it earthy because it was moldy? No. To shame someone and call them wasteful because they don't want 6-day-old food, I think is gross. I'm getting like goosebumps just thinking about it. I hate that. Oh, oh no. I'm just going to stand by the fact that like, she didn't tell you because she knew what your reaction was going to be. I don't have proof of that. That's just a headcanon that I have in my gut. I believe that wholeheartedly. And I'm going to go good apple. I think there's going to be some different opinions on her and how long people are personally comfortable with eating leftovers. And that's their journey. That's their business. You are allowed to have your own journey with those opinions. And if you don't like 6-day-old food and she knows this, then there's zero reason why she tricked you. It feels like she was trying to be like, look, see, it's not that bad. Get over it. That's what it felt like. And it didn't go that way. I'm going good apple that you are allowed to have your own boundaries with how long you are willing to eat leftover food. Hands down, I'm going good apple. Apple number 3. Am I the bad apple for kicking my sister out? I, 23 male, live with my sister, 19 female. Unfortunately, due to the way she was taught when she was young, instead of throwing the toilet paper in the toilet when using the restroom, she throws it on the floor. I've told her multiple times that she can't do that, and my bathroom stinks. I cleaned it up several times, but she'll start doing it again, and I'm sick of it. Today was my final straw. She was using the bathroom, and lo and behold, she did clean up after herself. I talked to her about it, and she just shrugged. She also said to me, and I quote, "It's your job to clean it up. I can't throw it into the rubbish bin." I was livid. I said, I'm your brother, not your maid. And even if I was, most maids wouldn't clean up after that. Get out. She said, what? She couldn't believe that I was kicking her out. And she said that I was cruel. My sister posted about it on Facebook, and I got bashed by so many of our relatives for being selfish brat. But I need to know, am I the bad apple? No, I should not have to go into an explanation about why it's not your job to clean up after your 19-year-old sister's feces. That's disgusting. That's a health hazard. There's nothing anyone can do or say that will convince me that is anyone's job. Nothing. Not like, I know there's going to be some people that are like, what if they're disabled? I don't think that's the case, because then we would have gotten something like that instead of her just being selfish. Her complaining about how it's not her job to clean up. Like, let's be real, guys. Let's be real. Very clearly is not that kind of situation. That's disgusting. But 19, you're old enough to know better. I would tell you to get out of my house too. I'm not doing that. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. No. Good apple. Apple number 4. Am I the bad apple for supposedly being a creep to my boy best friend? I, 19 female, and my best friend, 20 male, have been friends for 5 years. We've always had this close bond, and people would always think we were dating. Even his parents and my parents wanted us to be together. We would say we're not dating and that we were never going to, but there was always some type of tension between us that would kind of make me second guess all that. Like, there was this one time where we were laying on his bed and we would just stare at each other for a few moments before looking away and laughing. And after that, I literally fell asleep on his chest and he was just stroking my hair. I feel like from that moment on, I was falling for him hard. It would be the littlest things, like him trying to tie my hair in a ponytail and miserably failing, or him saying a corny joke and smiling at me when I laugh. It just all made my feelings grow. For the past month, he's made these new friends. They're all guys, and to be honest, they all come off as really obnoxious. They all just randomly come to his house when we're together, and they cause a mess and are so loud, and every time they see me in his house, they ask if we've been up to no good together. The problem I have with him and these friends is he acts differently around them too. So different. Like, as soon as they come in, all of a sudden he straight up stops talking to me, or he'll talk to me briefly and then continue talking to those friends. I don't know why, but I wouldn't leave his house early even with them there, because I really just want to be in his presence since he's my friend. Maybe also because of my feelings for him. And let's say if his friends did leave early, then he would all of a sudden revert back to my best friend. It kind of gives me a sense of comfort, like, oh, well, at least he doesn't have a problem with me. He's normal when they're not here. Yesterday, I was at his house again, and his friends once again banged on the door because they love coming to his house uninvited. And all of us were sitting on the couch watching a movie, and I ended up resting my head on his shoulder, which is what we normally do. But then he just moves away and calls me a creep loudly, like in front of everybody. His friends laughed and my heart dropped, and I tried to salvage the situation, and I said, I thought you... But I just didn't know how to finish the sentence. And he said, you thought I what? I just got my things and practically ran out of his house. I'm on the verge of a whole panic attack, and I've been in straight tears since walking home. The moment I got to my bedroom, I just fell asleep. When I woke up, I called my friend and told her about what happened, and she said that he told her that I've been overstepping boundaries and I've been coming across as a creep. I feel horrible because I really thought he was okay with everything, and now I feel gross. I don't know. Am I the bad apple? There's going to be a lot of different opinions on this story. And I think this is one of those ones where there's a fine line between friendship and creepy. There's a few problems that I have with this story. It seems to me like these behaviors are being received and reciprocated when it's just you two, but not when it's other people. And so I don't have any other information to go on other than that. But I do encourage anyone in this kind of situation to reflect and think back, are these behaviors and connections, are they reciprocated when it's just you two? Like, is this something that you do and they're responding to at an equal level? Or is it something that you do and they just kind of allow to happen? That's something that I definitely encourage people in this kind of situation to think about and reflect on, because there is a difference. There's a difference between, oh, well, I usually lay my head on his shoulder and then he like pulls me into him or nudges into me, or I put my head on his shoulder and he just kind of sits there rigidly. There's a difference. Or everyone always asks us that if we're dating and we just like, we look at each other longingly, or people ask us if we're dating and he looks away and like gets uncomfortable. There's a difference. I think it can be really hard for especially young people who are learning social cues and things like that and learning about interactions. It can be hard. And that's why I won't necessarily go bad apple for this one, because I think that there definitely are people out there who push boundaries, know they're pushing boundaries, kind of delude themselves into thinking that their behaviors are being well received when they're not. And the reason that I'm not saying I think this is one of those situations is because she's saying that when the friends are around, he acts different, but when the friends aren't there, he's reciprocating. And that's the only information that I have to go on. And if that's the case, I would definitely put him in the bad apple category, because that feels like someone who likes the attention but is adamant to others that they don't, and that's not fair either. Like, that's giving someone mixed signals. That's not fair. That's not appropriate. I think that's really messed up. It sounds like he's embarrassed by the idea of dating. Like, if his friends have given, and this sounds really harsh, I'm so sorry about that, but if his friends are giving him a rough time about you two, it sounds like he's embarrassed by that attention that they give about it, or about you two being together. And that explains why he acts so differently around them. I have so many questions, and I don't want to put like my own assumptions into the story, because again, I only have one side, and these kinds of things can be misconstrued very easily, especially by younger people. So I'm gonna stop trying to like play detective with it and say, it feels like this is the first time you're being told, no, you're passing boundaries, you're overstepping boundaries, I don't want to be with you. This is the first time you're getting that message. So I'm not going to go bad apple, because it's not like you were blatantly getting that message and disregarding it. I'm gonna go crabapple because you genuinely believed, based on his actions that you've described, that there was not an issue and that there was no uncomfortability. Now, I would probably, if I was in your shoes, I would ask him why he was acting differently with the friends, and I would get answers. Is it because you're embarrassed? Is it because you don't want to be with me? And then I would then in turn, like, he's either going to say, oh, I don't have feelings for you, or I do have feelings for you. And that will tell you, like, where to go. However, you did acknowledge that the behavior was extremely different in front of the friends, in front of the new friends. If you age this situation up, it can be really dangerous to insist, oh, well, they just didn't know it wasn't being received well. You know what I mean? And I'm more inclined to go crabapple because you guys are so young and confrontation can be such a scary thing. But I also acknowledge that if this was aged up, and even if roles were reversed, this could be received much differently. And I don't want to be a part of the double standard. So I'll go crabapple for now. And if you think I'm being too lenient about it, like, it can be just because it's a bad choice, a wrong decision in other people's opinions, doesn't mean you're a bad person. Just because someone gets a bad apple doesn't mean that they're horrible and awful. That's not how that works. It's just based on the choice that you made. Do we agree with the choice? Did we think it was a questionable choice? Do we not like the choice? So I will let you guys change my mind if you think I'm being too lenient there. So I'm okay with you guys pushing me into a harsher bad apple standpoint for this one, for sure. So I'll be interested to see the comments on that. Okay, so I got 2 good apples, a crab apple and a bad apple for now. That might change. Again, excited to see your comments, but that's what I got. I would love to know if you guys got anything similar or different. As always, let me know down in the comments. And as always, if you want a chance for your stories to be featured in Am I the Bad Apple, you can send them to my subreddit, r/Am I the Bad Apple. And for your well wishes, today is not only National Crayon Day, but is National Tartar Day, and I learned that that is celebrating potatoes. I don't know why it would be called Tartar Day if it's celebrating potatoes, but you know what? After this, I'm gonna go learn and figure out why. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite kind of potato and or crayon is. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. And next week, I will definitely be back home. Have a great rest of your day, and hope to see y'all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Wow.